How's everybody doing out there? This is John Demartino, and I want to expand on my last presentation, which was on sales. What I want to talk about today is your mindset and how it relates to when you receive an objection. So the first thing about objections is this: you're going to get objections if you do a sales presentation. That's just how it is. But how do you accept those objections? Do you take it personally as a personal attack, as your client may think you don't know what you're talking about, your product's not good enough, you're not good enough? What are you doing in your presentation that may be able to cut down on some of those objections? And then what mindset do you have going into overcoming an objection? Do you have a defeated tone? Do you have a tone of where you're not understanding where we are, and so this is what my thinking is and you're over here, and I just gotta move you right here so now we're in line and we can move forward? Because if you truly believe you're there to help that client out and you truly uncover what their financial goals are, why wouldn't you fight to the end to make sure they get the solution you're providing? And if you put it in this context, if your mother was walking towards a cliff and you knew she was going to fall 200 feet and she was telling you, nope, she has nothing to worry about, would you continue to overcome those objections, or would you take it personally, be upset, and have your mother fall off a cliff? Right? So if you have what your client truly needs, not to fall off of a financial cliff, why wouldn't you go through objection after objection, rebut it, loop back around to a bullet point, and go back into a strong close? And if you make it about the client, you won't hear, well, you're a pressure salesman, why are you pressuring me? That's not how that works. Okay, what that is, and I think it gets conflated, is there are, of course, just like we have some bad doctors out there, some bad lawyers, you have some salespeople that do that, right? They pressure sell stuff that you just don't need, or it's just a wrong fit for you. And you hear those stories of your mother's best friend's dog's uncle, right, got this bad product and is in this horrible situation, and then what happens is the whole industry wears that black eye. What you need to do is rise above that. So a couple of things I want to leave you with when it comes to objections, your mindset, and how you move into a sale. Number one, you want to make sure that, as I talked about in the last presentation, that you stack those minor agreements up, right? Well, stacking those minor agreements up, what that means is how you present your value statement, the things you let that customer know as far as expectation on what they can expect from you throughout the presentation and what will happen after on the actions you're going to take. Right? Once you start to fulfill all those minor agreements, you start to build credibility throughout the sale. That's number one. Number two, how are you overcoming the objection? Do you take the first objection and believe that that is truly the objection? So what I was just listening to another presentation in a totally different field in psychology. And they said what they get is a presenting problem. And that's not what the problem is. And I'll give you an example. Is you have the presenting objection, but you have to take the temperature of that objection, because that is never the real objection. That's just what they are telling you. That's not really how they feel. So if, let's say, you were going to try and sell somebody a credit card, right? And they say, I don't want credit, I hate credit. No, I'm scared of credit. Is it really that they're scared of credit, or is their real objection is they don't understand how it works? They know somebody who may have been undisciplined or just got themselves in a bad situation, but they truly don't know, and they're not educated enough on that, on how they need to use credit, how best to use credit, and how they can save money by building good credit, right? So if you take that first objection, their presenting objection, you would think they hate credit cards, and you will not move forward with that objection. You would take that personally and say, sale's over. That's when the sale just begins. That's when you need to fire up, and your adrenaline needs to get moving, and you really need to find out what exactly about credit scares that person. What experience did they have? And most times you'll find that their experience wasn't really their experience. It was someone else's. And a great thing to, to compare that to is, do you know anybody out there that was killed in a car accident? Do you still drive a car? Right? So when you look at it in that way and you start to put that stuff, in fact, you probably drove to that funeral in a car, right? So when you look at that stuff, why would you let any objection derail you? And so as you look through how to best handle an objection, there's a very basic way, right? The feel, felt, found. And in one-on-one trainings, we can go through each one and how that works. But basically, you're letting the customer know you can appreciate how they feel. Other customers have felt the same way. And what you found is when you provided some of these financial solutions, auto solutions, whatever it may be, that they've had this type of success, right? So once you do that, you validate their feelings. You let them know, hey, you're not alone. A lot of my customers feel that same way. And then what the success came out on the other side of it. And again, it's a basic way to overcome an objection. But when you do that, you're at least in the game. And basically what it's like, you're in a tennis game, and when they give you an objection, they're hitting the ball over the net to you. So what happens in our mind is we take it personally, and if you were in that tennis game and that was an objection that he's lobbing over to your side of the net, are you going to throw your hands up in the air and scream? Or are you going to volley the ball back? And that's the overcoming the objection, right? Looping back, strong bullet point on why they should move forward. And then you go right into the close on how we'll move forward with this solution for whatever it may be that'll better their life. So that's a little bit on an objection. Number two is, how do you stop objections from coming, right? So you're going to get objections, but how do you prevent most of them? Is setting that expectation, having a good value proposition in the beginning, setting those minor agreements and making sure you stick to them. Right? And then number three is you really want to make sure you're transitioning throughout your sales presentation and showing how in the products you're going to talk about, how are you building value before you get there? How are you teeing up the products, financial solutions, or whatever it may be? How are you teeing those up to show the value for that customer? So if you custom fit solutions to their need, it's very hard for the customer to say no. As you overcome whatever objection it is, if you let that customer know, you just want to make sure that you're going to provide a certain solution to make sure that this provides value because of how it helped those rest of those customers, right? That's where you want to move forward. And so you want to make sure you're building value and teeing up your products to get to the close. And the last thing I'll say is just your mindset. You have to be upbeat. You have to have a strong mindset where if you do have a couple of bad sets in a row, a couple of bad presentations in a row, you don't have a mindset where on that fourth presentation, you are not prepared to go in and give your best, give your absolute 100% best job. And that's where we really take a hit. So that's the first thing. You have to keep a strong mindset, and every single customer, you start from A again, and you move to that straight line to close, right? In a straight line to close that sale, and you give it you have to fully commit and focus on each customer. You have to wipe that bad presentation off your back and move forward with a good presentation. So what I'd like to leave you with is this. If you're in a good mindset, every client you treat as family, you make sure that you're building value and teeing up your solutions that you're giving your client only based on the needs of that specific client, not what product is your favorite, but that specific client, what their needs are. You will have a much easier time moving through the presentation and moving through the rebuttals you would need to come up with to overcome those objections that you're getting. So until next time, thank you, good selling, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.